Keeping this inward quiet, listen to these words of Swamiji on devotion. No good end is ever reached without devotion. No true success is achieved unless the heart's feelings are involved. Willpower itself is a combination of energy and feeling directed toward fulfillment. In the quest for God, the unfolding of the heart's natural love in the form of deep devotion is the prime requisite for success. Without devotion, not a single step can be taken towards Him. Devotion is no sentiment. It is the deep longing to commune with and know the only reality there is. And please affirm with me, with the sword of devotion, I sever the heartstrings that tie me to delusion. With the deepest love, I lay my heart at the feet of omnipresence. A little more quietly. With the sword of devotion, I sever the heartstrings that tie me to delusion. With the deepest love, I lay my heart at the feet of omnipresence. And now in a whisper, with the sword of devotion, I sever the heartstrings that tie me to delusion. With the deepest love, I lay my heart at the feet of omnipresence. Silently, the point between the eyebrows. With the sword of devotion, I sever the heartstrings that tie me to delusion. With the deepest love, I lay my heart at the feet of omnipresence. Please pray silently with me. Beloved Father, Mother, God, I am thine alone. Let others seek thee, or seek thee not. It matters not to my love for thee. Through all life's trials, my prayer is this alone. Reveal thyself. Reveal thyself. Om Shanti Shanti.
Well, good morning to everyone for our Sunday Satsang and to those that are joining us online. We'll begin reading from Paramahansa Yogananda's Whispers from Eternity, entitled, Thou dost reveal thy silver rays of speaking silence. Divine Mother, I heard thy voice in the speaking fragrance of the rose. I heard thy voice in the lisping whispers of my devotion. I heard thy voice beneath the din of my noisiest thoughts. It was thy love which spoke through the voice of friendship. I touched thy tenderness in the softness of the lily. O Divine Mother, break through the dawn and show thy face of light. Break through the sun and show thy face of power. Break through the night and show thy moon face. Break through my thoughts and show thy face of wisdom. Break through my feelings and show thy face of love. Break through my pride and show thy face of humbleness. Break through my wisdom and show thy face of perfection. Divine Mother, tear away the night of my ignorance to reveal thy silver rays of speaking silence. And from The Path, My Life with Paramahansa Yogananda by Swami Kriyananda, and this is drawn from the chapter, The Final Goal. Paramahansa Yogananda taught us above all that the true goal of life is union with God. Devotion, self-offering, self-surrender, oneness in bliss, and divine love. These are the entire purpose of life. I lovingly remember one day when Master played a recording for a small group of us. It was a devotional song. How long will you remain, Mother, a stone image before my gaze? Set fire ablaze in your eyes and come to me, dancing over all creation. O Mother, divine energy fills the universe with your flowing hair, garland by thoughts in all minds, dancing, dancing. O Mother, free me this day, this very moment from delusions, bonds. Countless lives have I lived apart from you. At last now, bring peace into my body temple. I don't remember all the words. I'm not conversant enough in Bengali to understand many of them. But I remember Master telling us afterwards, as I was listening, I too was dancing over all creation. Man's relationship with God is intimate and infinitely dear. What I've hoped above all in writing this book has been to convince you, dear reader, to live more deeply for God, to love him so completely that you become wholly absorbed in him. God hears our very prayer. Of all aspects of the divine, that of mother is the sweetest. As my guru once said, mother is closer than the father. I too prefer to pray to God as my divine mother. And I can testify to the truth of what my guru told us. When you pray to her, she will answer. Many years ago, I don't remember where, Northern California, I would imagine, perhaps the San Francisco area. And we went to see a saint, as we did from time to time. And this saint was named Brother Shunyavai. And I asked what that meant, Brother Zero. And I thought, perfect. That is where we're all going. Again, it's astonishing to think that of all the things that over the incarnations that we've done, all the good things, as Sri Yukteswar said, also the other things, that it'll all add up to zero in the end. And here was a saint, Brother Shunyamai, Brother Zero. I never did anything like this before or after, but I came up to him. He was just sitting humbly in the audience. And I just walked up to him. I didn't know quite what to expect, but I was a little surprised because it's not quite my nature to do this. He was a stranger. I didn't know him, but the vibration that he had was that of a banyan tree. And I just thought, well, I just have to approach him. And what did he do? And it really surprised me. He just put out his hands. And I just thought, my goodness, that he's like father, mother, friend. I really was amazed by it. And so I put out my hands too, and we held hands. And we held hands for a long time. Normally, I wouldn't have approached someone again, a stranger, and I wouldn't have held out my hands. But it was just something that happened because the magnetism of his love was so strong that for me it was just so natural. And it was some minutes. And I was so surprised because it was completely comfortable. I was completely at ease, completely relaxed. And then after some time, then pranamed and went back to my seat. But I'll never forget this because this is the blessing of the saints, whether it's an experience such as that, or we perhaps are in the back of the room, as Swami Kriyananda said to a group of us, a small group, when we went to India in 1980. He was so close to Ananda Moy Ma, who we spent time with in the late 50s and early 60s. And so this was going to be our quest to see if we could find her, because we had this intuition that she'd be passing. And she did a couple of years later. And what did he say to us? He said, go to the back of the room and just meditate and drink in her vibration. Quite the opposite of what I experienced with Brother Shunyamai. But the blessings that came from her, of course, were just wave after wave of this wonderful peace, because she truly was a self-realized soul. And it was even all the more precious to us because Master had met her in the mid-30s when he came to India. And the picture, perhaps you've seen it, of Yogananda there with Ananda and others is just so extraordinary. When you see one saint, it takes your breath away. When you see something like this, a couple of saints that have spent so many incarnations in seeking God, and they have arrived. They have that power to go into samadhi whenever they choose. And as a matter of fact, Yogananda, toward the last years of his life, he was in samadhi continuously. And that is where we've come from. We can't forget that. That's where we are now, although we're not quite aware of it. And that's where we're going to be returning to that state of bliss. Roma just recently shared a video that was so inspiring. I wanted to share that with you this morning. And it was a man who had this extraordinary compassion for old people that were in nursing homes. And in the United States, and I think, across the world, there is, quite a lot of this experience for the older people, perhaps not so much in India, I would say, because of extended family and so forth. But in America, it's everywhere. There's nursing homes everywhere throughout the States. And so he had really what I consider a super conscious inspiration. And many of these people, they're not visited by their family and friends. They're just sitting there, and basically they're waiting to die. What a sad end of the chapter of a life, and I think for many of them, a very productive life. So he had this inspiration to bring to them music. As Swamiji said, if you want to get to know me, listen to my music. And we know the power of music. We don't even know, in some instances, the language of perhaps a place that we're visiting, but we listen to the music, and the next thing we know, we're transported. And so what he did, so simple and yet so effective, was he brought in all these headsets. And perhaps he knew this, I don't know, but that the brain that was affected, and many of these people were suffering from dementia and Alzheimer's and so on, but he had this thought that they could be reached. And so what he did is he, and many of them weren't talking and were responding to questions and so forth, but somehow, some way, they could see from his vibration, he was there as a friend. And so he said, would you like to listen to some music? And there wasn't, in some instances, an immediate response, but he was just waiting to see if, they could come out of their shell. And they did. And so what he did is he would say, would you like to put on this headset and listen to music? You can listen to the music that is a favorite of yours because I have a playlist for you. And so some would listen to, maybe music that they were raised with back in the 20s and 30s and so forth, swing music, others modern music. It was different for each one. But the extraordinary thing, and this was, again, right there before film, for us to see on the video, interestingly, this man, another man, became interested in what this fellow was doing and bringing music to the old people's homes. And so he said, well, I would like to film you for a day. He was so inspired. He filmed him for 3 years. And one could appreciate why. When you saw the reaction of these people, and I'm telling you, some of these people were just, it appeared to be beyond reach, in a complete stupor. And so he would put the headset on. And the next thing you know, there was this incredible transformation, like another person. And in some instances, they would stand up and dance. And he just, such a sweet man, he would then, you want to dance? And so then perhaps he would dance with them and so forth. So many so many, many different experiences. Again, this other fellow filmed him for 3 years. So you can imagine the collage. Well, in the beginning, because this was a bit unorthodox for someone to come in and all of this, but the results, what could the caregivers say? What could the doctors and nurses say? The result was something that was absolutely miraculous, nothing short of that. So there was a lot of resistance in the beginning for him to come in and, what is this? We don't know you, and you're putting a headset on our patients and this and that. But what could they say? They were witnessing a miracle, the transformation of this love that this man, as an instrument for this love, was giving to these people, and it was very much reciprocated. And so what happened was that bit by bit, it went viral. And so before long, these nursing homes across the states, and I think across the world, begin to, because again, we're practical people. We really are. We can put our stuff to the side and take a moment to see, this works. I don't know how it works, but it does. And we try it. And so that's exactly what happened. That these nursing homes that had been used to basically medicating people and doing what they could, of course, many dedicated care workers, cheering them up as they could. But what was this? And so he would bring in, boxes of headsets at one point when he found this receptivity. And it was just love. That's all. We know from our own life that there's so many stories that we ourselves have experienced with our relatives and friends, whatever it might be, that if we extend ourselves, if we pray for them, whatever form it takes, next thing we know, there's this extraordinary transformation. Something happened to me that I really don't remember anything quite like it. Yesterday, we had a Kriya retreat. It was lovely. And going into the retreat, as Rome and I were leading it, I was just happy that no one knew what was going on inside me, because we had heard news of dear friends of ours that was very impactful, and such that I felt like basically a cannonball had just gone into my heart and there was nothing left. I came in to the retreat in the morning as a shell, but shells, were trying to be empty instruments and so on, but this was a little different. I mean, I was unplugged, completely unplugged. And, we couldn't say, excuse me, but the retreat is canceled. And thank you for coming, and you can meditate on your own. We were needing to chant and all of these various things. And so I just sat down and I thought, well, I can't remember anything like this before. I just can't remember. And now I have to find a way to participate. What am I going to do? So I just sat for a moment. And the next thing I knew, something happened that was even more impactful than the cannonball that roared through my heart. There was this feeling of deep, deep inner stillness and peace. And whatever it was washed away. And I thought, thank you, God. What else can you say? And again, I remembered God does everything for the best. And I remembered that indeed, we are replenished constantly. And as we go through the experiences of life, this was, of course, very, very dramatic. I can't remember a time when in one moment I was devastated, and the next moment I'm better than ever, with this feeling of light and love and all the things that we cherish. And for us, it's a good thing to keep in mind that Divine Mother is continuously knocking on the door. As Master said, all I ask of you is that you're open. I can't penetrate your consciousness, your heart, and so on if you're indifferent. when God comes to us, which of course he does every moment, God and Guru, and knocks on our door, the experience that God and Guru want to give us is joy and love, peace, contentment, all of the qualities that we seek day after day. And so this experience I'm not going to forget, because from time to time, Divine Mother uses shock therapy. And that was exactly it. It was shock therapy because it was so quick. One moment down and the next moment up. And so for us, this is yet another reason to appreciate and to trust and to love Divine Mother, to love the gurus, because that's what they're doing all the time. Trailanga Swami, in the autobiography of the yogi, that amazing saint, was a dear friend of Lahiri Mahashaya. And what did Trailanga Swami say, who was a monk of Lahiri Mahashaya? Lahiri Mahashaya is just Divine Mother's kitten. And wherever Divine Mother wants him to go, 30 years as an accountant in the English department, fine. Because that is your role, to be an example as the ideal yogi householder. And so for us, we really too are kittens. Divine Mother comes and she goes like this, and she lifts our consciousness. She changes, the experience again and again of our lives, whatever it might be. We move to another city, we get another job, on and on it goes. But the more we can appreciate that everything, and it will never be any other way, is done through love. It's done through joy. Test it. Many, many years ago, I was mad at God because I had this very strong feeling that was a thought I was having in those early days. And so finally I thought, we're all yogis, we're all scientists. I need to experiment at this time because it was a time of real severe challenge. So I thought, okay, I can't blame God. Obviously, it's not God's problem. I'm the one that needs to change. Okay, good enough. So I thought, okay, I'm going to test God right now to see if he is present. I've got to know that. I knew, of course, it was, but I had to feel it. I had to experience it. So I had the image of a submarine. And, when the submarine is on top of the water, it can be, really tossed and turned by the winter storm. And that was exactly my experience. But submarines have this wonderful design in which they can go beneath the storms and just sit on the bottom and be still. And that's exactly what I did. I thought to myself, now I'm a human submarine. I've got to test and see if during all of this turmoil that I'm experiencing and feeling that God has, basically dropped the ball and is in some distant galaxy and cares not for me, for us. I know it's not true, but I have to experience, is God present right now? Is that love there? Is that joy there? And so I went, and it was quite a journey because there was a lot of turmoil. And I went as far as I could until finally I was feeling this stillness, this calm. I was there at the bottom of the ocean, the bottom of my own soul. And then I said, well, yes, it's true. I've been a brat. I've been just basically, this was my, you're supposed to be like this, and I was this. obviously this isn't, something that's going to help me grow spiritually, shaking my fist at God, blaming God, feeling like he was giving me too much karma. He should dose it, give me doses that are a little bit more manageable. And so that experience never left me. And many, many years after that, actually not that many, maybe 6 or 8 years after that, I was in the monastery at the time. And so we went to nearby Sacramento. That's the capital of California, not far from Ananda village, just an hour and a half away. And so I don't know, there are probably 10 or 12 monks, maybe more. And, yogis like ice cream. And so we were off to 31 flavors to go and have some ice cream. This was going to be a treat for us. What did I find as we were trooping into 31 flavors? I was gripped by this incredible mood, and I did not want to be exposed. We like to, if we're going through troubles, we like to do it in our own room. We don't want to be there out in the public, and that was going to be embarrassing for me. And so I thought, well, I probably have maybe a minute to use that submarine technique. And so I thought, well, I've got to, find something that they won't wonder what I'm doing. So I found a display of guns behind glass. I'm not interested in guns. I have no interest, and I do have some interest in history, and they were old guns. So I thought, okay. I thought to myself, I probably have a minute or two to pretend that I'm in, a musket, and there's a revolver, and so on. They wouldn't bother me. They're getting ice cream. And it was, only a minute away. But I was urgently working on getting beneath the experience of this experience of just self-involvement. That's what moods are. And get back into the light. It just took a minute. I don't know if I can thank the gun display for that, but I think I can. Because, if I had just been staring at a wall, then they would have thought, he's probably in a mood. He's staring at a wall. It's kind of odd behavior. But there was, this gun display. Oh my goodness, I didn't know he was a Civil War buff, and so forth. Then, as I walked to the ice cream parlor, I do enjoy ice cream, I thought, I'm going to enjoy this way more than what I would normally, and I did. Because the consciousness, again, we're just basically half the time living in an elevator shaft. And so when the energy's down, then, negativity in the mind and the heart shuts down and all this. And then we finally think, wait a minute, Kriya Yoga, chanting, Seva, all of the good things will lift my energy. The elevator shaft will go back up. The elevator will go back up, and I'll be back into the light. I'll be back in my heart. And so basically, it's not that difficult. We just have to be vigilant. It's very, very important to be vigilant. Back in the early 70s, I'd only been there 6 weeks at Ananda seclusion retreat, and it was a honeymoon. I was walking on air. I couldn't believe that I had found this place that I'd been looking for 2 years, and there was Swami. 6 weeks after I arrived, the temple burnt down. And Swami had spent all of this time in the city in San Francisco building the seclusion retreat, our first property, and he had just moved up, and the temple burnt down. And so he and maybe 4 or 5 others, we were just numb, just staring at the coals. And it was a geodesic dome. It burnt like that so quickly. And so Swami told us later a story that is very, very inspiring, that he went back to the common dome, his own dome, his home, there at the seclusion retreat, and he was absolutely numb. And so he said, well, I don't really like this feeling. He knew, why that numbness was there, taking over his being. And so what did he do? This is the path, self-offering. Offer everything to God. The good things, the bad things, things that are neutral, everything. And that's exactly what he did. He said, Divine Mother, listen, I did this for you. I'm building the community for you. This temple was built for you, everything. So, you know, that's where I'm coming from. And so this avalanche of grace came. And because Ananda and Swami and Master all have a sense of humor, when the grace came like an avalanche flooding his heart, he said, oh my gosh, if I had known that it was just giving you the temple, I would have offered you the common dome too. It's kind of like Jyotish and Devi when they had their 10-day-old son, and we had a fire in 76, burned their house down, and all of our homes pretty much were finished overnight. And so Jyotish, again, man of great humor, said, well, Divine Mother, you know, this actually has worked out well because it's fixed the leaks. Because domes are famous for leaks. You know, when we didn't quite know what we were doing, after a while, we just shingled them. And took a little bit of, there's the stoplight. We need to get to the movie. And it's one of those stoplights. We know of it. Somehow we got tricked and took the wrong road, and it just goes on for eternity. Count your blessings and skip the rest. It's going to be a nice evening. We'll get to the movie. It's probably just a bunch of commercials anyway in the beginning of the main feature. And we begin to really school ourselves in constantly breaking right. As Yogananda said, if you want to be happy, make good choices. Why are people unhappy in this world? Many billions perhaps, because they make bad choices. And they wonder why their life is spiraling down, and they aren't in this wonderful heaven that they know is their birthright. And so we really just have to keep our lives very simple. You keep the heart open, the mind bright. That's it. No excuse. No excuse. And when a test comes that has, you know, tremendous force, then we say, okay, I'm just going to weigh this out. I'm going to be the jnani. I'm going to be in the watchful state until this passes, because it will pass, because Divine Mother is always just, okay, she uses, and from time to time, she does open heart surgery without anesthesia. You know, we know, we spend enough time together, we know, you know, the habits of Divine Mother, but it's always that there can be an openness for more love, an openness for more joy, always. Test it, and you'll find that even the harshest tests, sometimes it takes 10 years for us to acknowledge that actually this thing that happened that ran us over was a good thing. That's okay. Other times we are able to know right at that moment, this is custom for what I need to take my next step spiritually. It's not much fun. We do have our preferences. I like to say now, no more desires, only preferences. And so then, you know, I can be on the safe side, because what did Ananda Ma said? When will we find God? When we're done with our last desire. So I say, no, this is not a desire, it's a preference. Now, I don't know if Divine Mother is going to go for that when it's time for us to meet St. Peter and say, about your preferences. Down you go. You can't be fooling us, you know, like that. And so, you know, we do what we can. As I have fun with the formula in terms of our liberation, is God takes 50% of our karma. The Guru takes another 25%, and then we have to do 25%. And ultimately, God's doing everything through us. And so what I've been doing, and again, it may attract a lightning bolt, I say to God and Guru, I've already done my 25%. Come on. You guys are lagging behind, and I was finished incarnations ago. And so, you know, I don't know. And so we're Divine Mother's children. Maybe we can get away with things like that. If you see me at one point, you know, kind of a piece of charcoal, you'll know that I went too far, and I did attract a lightning bolt, and so be it. You know, hopefully I'll survive and be able to do some more kriya and not, you know, act mischievous in future. So anyway, it's all about love. As Sri Yukteswar said, you can't even take a step on the spiritual path without love. And we know that. We wouldn't be drawn to this path because masters of bhakti, all of the gurus are that. Because even though Sri Yukteswar, who looks like at any moment he would send a lightning bolt our way if we stray, his consciousness is pure love. It has to be. Although he was a jnani, pure love. All of these great ones are instruments for that pure love because they have transcended. There's no more karma there. And that's why we want to spend time with the saints, because the more we can spend time with the saints, the more we can deeply appreciate the great gift that we've been given, that we are sufficiently aware now, that we recognize these great ones, not as just pictures on a wall, but as a living presence. And not only are these pictures, great reminders for us to stay in tune, but God and the great ones live in our own hearts, and they can't get any closer than that. So God bless you.